Hello, beautiful being. 2026 numerology. Let's take a real deep dive on this very interesting year right at the beginning. It's a one universal year, and we calculate that simply by adding the numbers in the date together. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. Now, in numerology, everything goes in cycles of 9. And so a 1 year is cool because it's the beginning of a new cycle. But in a way, it's not that special because we go through one every 9 years. But I'm saying that this year, this 1 year is a very special one, and I'll explain why. Have to kind of backtrack a little bit to 1,000 years ago, or just over 1,000 years ago. In the year 1000, we entered the number 1 for 1,000 years, from 1000 to 1999. And the 1 in numerology is the primary masculine energy. It's connected with the sun in astrology. And the 2 in numerology is connected with the moon. It's the main feminine energy. So you can see where I'm going here, that we were in 1,000 years of masculine energy right until the end of the last century, and then beginning this century, this millennium, we're starting 1,000 years of feminine energy. So wow, this is pretty big stuff, right? So what we got to understand is that when the energy started in 1000, it was gaining momentum. It was becoming more and more and more masculine. And then in the 20th century, which is interesting because was the 1900s and the 20th century, that was like the changeover from the 1 to the 2. But it was also the time in which the masculine, the 1900s, was at its absolute zenith, its absolute peak. And we really saw that with the world wars, the dictators, with all of the innovation. It was an amazing century, it really was. In fact, it was so masculine that even women started to become more masculine at that time. That was feminism. Okay, so women started to have more of a voice for themselves. They discovered their assertiveness, which is a masculine quality. So, really interesting stuff. But at the same time, at that time, we kind of started to discover things like socialism, communism. They became more popular, and that's, we could say, more of a 2 thing, more of a feminine thing. So we're really in an energetic shift right now. And from 2000, it's almost like a pole reversal. We've made that flip from the masculine to the feminine. Okay? So, and that's been confusing people. What we got to understand is we're not separate from this. The date is kind of the significance of it is that it started at the beginning of the age of Pisces. So we could say that right now we're 2026 years into the age of Pisces. Okay, so it's not just some arbitrary date. So basically, centuries, we can treat centuries in the same way that we can treat human beings. Human beings have a life path number. You calculate that by adding your day, month and year of birth all together and reducing to a single number or a master number. But with calculating the number of a century, we just calculate like the beginning number. So it was 2000. So we're in a 2 century. So a 2 century is like a 2 life path person. And according to your life path, if you live long enough, you have 3 life cycles throughout your life. And for number 2 people, the first life cycle lasts from when they're born, which was 2000, until the end of the calendar year in which they become 25. Wow, 2025. So last year, which was a 9-year, was the end of the first life cycle of this century. And that is really, really significant. For many reasons, mainly because, like I say, we're shifting, we're in this polar shift from the masculine to the feminine. So the human psyche, our nervous systems have kind of been marinated, man and woman, we've been marinated in this masculine energy for 1,000 years. And like I said, in the 1900s, it was masculine energy on steroids. So all of a sudden there's this polar shift, and it's really confusing to us. There's all this gender confusion. People are starting to say, am I this, am I that, and maybe even inventing, new nuances for genders. Okay, so this is this kind of confusion. It's this in-betweeny time for the masculine to the feminine. So what we're seeing right now is that in the first life cycle of your life and my life, anybody's life, we're most influenced by the time that we come into. We're influenced by parents, by education, by culture. And that's true of us as well, that we come into the 2000s, we flip into the feminine, everything becomes more sensitive, we're much more sensitive, aren't we? Every time seems to just be more nebulous. It's like, well, what's happening? Because we're navigating this whole new energy, this feminine dominant energy. Okay, but for the first 25 years, we're still kind of running on masculine energy. So it's kind of really confusing. The masculine wants to control, it wants to protect. The feminine wants safety, it's very sensitive. So, we can look at like the rise of narcissism. Not surprising, because inside of us, we've got this, the masculine really wants to kind of, yeah, me, I'm the boss, I'm the leader, I'm the son. And the feminine is like, well, my feelings, how dare you say that to me? So these, yeah, in a way, the toxic masculine, the toxic feminine are really coming together in this first life cycle of the 21st century. So what I see now, coming back to 2026, is that just again, like a human being, when you enter your second life cycle, you start to individuate. That's the word. Individuate means you start to become more authentic, more you. You're less running on the energy that you came in on, or that you were programmed into by your parents, etc. And you start to discover your own energy, your own influences. Okay, so that's what we're going to start to feel from this year. We're going to start to feel a lot more comfortable with our sensitivity. Look back at 2020, two twos, right? Interesting, 2020. So at that time, everybody was super, super sensitive, and there was this, we were told that there was this deadly disease, and everybody kind of most people capitulated and just did what they were told. So again, that was the toxic masculine, wanted to control people, and the toxic feminine was like, oh, I'm so scared, protect me, without really going into the positive feminine, which is the real intuition. Hey, hang on a sec. Not sure about this. I'm not interested in the science, but yeah, it kind of doesn't feel right. Many of us, myself included, in 2020, it just, didn't feel like a big deal to me. So I just proceeded from there. And I feel that from 2026, many of us now, we're going to get more in touch with our feeling sense. We're going to be less like, trusting the science, all of this masculine stuff. And you just got to listen to the experts because they know better than you. So it's going to be a real kind of awakening of the feminine. And what the world really needs too is for women, of course, because women have more feminine than masculine, even though men have feminine too. So I would say that from this year, women are really going to start to come into their feminine. And, men are, we really want that. We don't really want masculine women, because we're masculine already. We want that kind of complement to us. So that's what we're going to see more this year. Men stepping more into the masculine. They're kind of less kind of triggered and angry, because they've been struggling to kind of integrate the feminine side. So maybe just been becoming too masculine and too rigid, and feminine women really getting more into their own feminine, and bringing in this feminine intelligence to the world. So this month, January, it's going to be a slow starting month to this year. The way we work out the month numbers of the year is we simply add the number of the month to the universal year. So January's 1, plus a 1 year is 2. So 2 again is the feminine. It's a little bit passive. It's like a river. It kind of meanders, doesn't go somewhere quickly. That's kind of what we've noticed, isn't it, since the beginning of this century? Everything's kind of meandering. You know, the noughties, the teenies, the 20s, it all just seems the same, because it's this feminine, meandering energy rather than like the last century, the masculine. Right, 60s over with, let's move to the 70s, now the 80s. We've got to put that behind us. It's not going to come back. We really have to embrace the feminine now. So from February, that's when this year is going to take off a lot more. And as you can see from the screen, we've got a 1 universal year, but there's a number there on top, which is 5. That's the pinnacle of the year. And we have a 2 at the bottom, which is the challenge of the year. So the pinnacle is like the most positive energy that we can expect for this year. And 5 is freedom, it's expansion, it's communication, everything to do with the throat center, with Mercury, planet Mercury. So yeah, best case scenario this year with a 1 new beginnings year. It's power, it's stepping into our power, but doing that not in a kind of fully masculine way, but really, you know, discovering the superpower of our feminine intelligence, of our sensitivity, of our intuition. So with that 5 at the top, yeah, hopefully we're going to be able to bring that more into our communication. We're going to start to feel less kind of locked down inside of ourselves, more freedom, all of these, you know, good kinds of things associated with the 5. The challenge at the bottom is the 2. So, you know, yeah, we kind of do have to be careful that, you know, there could possibly be some kind of, I don't really like looking at the negative, you know, but some kind of psyop this year from, you know, people who like to think that they're in control, because the feminine's going to be challenged this year, the 2 at the bottom, the challenge. So, you know, just look out for kind of, you know, people coming and telling you that there's a deadly new disease, or, you know, there's something to be afraid of, you know, because you and all of us, the main challenge that we're going to face collectively this year is we've got to be able to discern through our feelings, through our intuition, through our sensitivity, and not just allow ourselves, like back in 2020, to just go with the fear option and, you know, and kind of just be pushed around. Okay, so just to sum up then, a really exciting year. It's the beginning of the second life cycle of this century, which is going to last all the way through until the December of the year of 2052. Okay, and then 2053 for the rest of the century. That's the final cycle of the century. I also want to say that the people born this century, they're born with the 2 in their date of birth. The rest of us, me and maybe you guys, were born in the 1900s. So everybody born this century, they're going to be, you know, they're a little bit different from us. And so these people also stepping more into their power this year. And hopefully they're going to be looking at, you know, the world that we've kind of created for them and saying, well, it's pretty stupid, you know. And they're going to start to really claim the superpower of their feminine intelligence, their sensitivity, you know, not just the toxic feminine, which is, oh, how dare you call me that, you know, but moving past that, letting go of that. We don't need that. And getting into the sensitivity to be able to read our feelings, you know, and to connect with our environment and say, well, maybe this digital light bulbs, energy saver light bulbs are not good for me. Don't make me feel good. Maybe I need incandescent, you know, the old style light bulbs. So I think that, yeah, a lot of the younger people, they're going to be rediscovering nature, rediscovering all of the things that really make humans come alive, and, you know, where we're really supposed to be, on this bang here now, on this natural earth, not in this kind of in our heads, in some kind of matrix technological place. Okay, so I really hope that's been helpful to you. This is the first video that I'm putting up on Numerology Mystic. I've been a numerologist for 30 years, or actually longer than that, but a professional for 30 years. I have a lot of real authentic insights to share with you. So please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.